What if I told you that you could basically buy the entire highly complex technology infrastructure behind a global giant like Uber or Lyft for less than the price of a used Honda Civic?
I mean, it sounds completely absurd.
Right. You look at these major tech players with their, sprawling campuses and, armies of software engineers, and you just naturally assume the barrier to entry is this impenetrable fortress.
Yeah, a fortress that costs tens of millions of dollars to even approach.
Exactly. But today, we're jumping into a really fascinating guide from Enatega that proves the drawbridge to that fortress has actually been completely lowered.
It really has.
So our mission in this deep dive is to explore how anyone with the drive to learn can now bypass all that traditional tech gatekeeping. We're breaking down how you can launch a ride-sharing business using a ready-made package called a BlaBlaCarclonescript.
And we really need to contextualize the size of this opportunity, too.
Oh yeah, the numbers are wild. We're talking about tapping into a global ride-sharing market that, and this statistic from the source absolutely blew my mind, is projected to be valued at over $144 billion by the year 2025.
It's just a staggering valuation.
Yeah.
And it really frames why this specific conversation is so critical for anyone interested in business or technology right now.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Before we get into how you can theoretically, grab a slice of that $144 billion pie, we need to set the stage based on our source material.
Right.
The text specifically focuses on the BlaBlaCar clone model. Now, if you're in the U.S., BlaBlaCar is not exactly a household name. It was founded in France back in 2006, and it doesn't operate as a standard rideshare service in America.
Yeah.
So just to ground us, what makes BlaBlaCar different from just, say, calling a taxi?
Well, it's a fundamental shift in the business model. If you are familiar with competitors mentioned in our source, like Waze Carpool or Lyft Shared Rides or GoCar, you sort of have a sense of it.
Okay.
But BlaBlaCar specifically dominates the peer-to-peer long-distance carpooling space.
Long distance. Got it.
Yeah. Instead of a taxi model where you hire a professional driver to take you to a specific destination on demand, this is about connecting drivers who are already making a trip anyway.
Like a road trip.
Exactly. Imagine someone is driving from Paris to Lyon to visit family. They have, say, 3 empty seats in their car. The platform connects that driver with 3 passengers who need to go the exact same way.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the passengers get a cheap ride, and the driver subsidizes their gas and toll money.
Right. It's extreme efficiency. You aren't generating new traffic at all.
You're just monetizing the empty space in a car that is already going to be on the highway.
That is the core of it. And what the Enatega guide lays out is that the incredibly complex software required to run that ecosystem, matching strangers based on highly specific geographic routes, holding their payments securely, tracking their live GPS.
All the heavy lifting.
Exactly. All of that does not have to be built from scratch anymore. It has been commoditized. It can literally be cloned.
To me, buying a clone app sounds a lot like buying one of those old house-in-a-box kits from the Sears catalog back in the early 1900s.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Like, you aren't pouring the foundation or framing the walls yourself.
Right.
The plumbing is routed, the electrical is done. You're buying the finished structure.
Yes.
You just get to paint it, slap your own logo on the front door, set your own pricing rules, and move your furniture in.
I think the Sears catalog analogy is highly accurate here.
Right.
When you purchase a white label solution like this, you are buying the fully functional house out of the box.
So what are the actual pieces of this house?
Well, the source breaks this down into 3 crucial pillars. First, you have the mobile apps, which are pre-built for both iOS and Android.
That's the front door you mentioned, right? What your drivers and passengers actually download and tap on their screens.
Exactly, which is what everyone thinks of when they say, I'm building an app, but there's a lot more to it.
Well, absolutely.
The second pillar is the admin dashboard. Think of this as your mission control center. This is a web portal where you, the business owner, oversee everything.
Yeah.
You're approving driver documents, tracking your platform's revenue, generating analytics.
Handling all the customer disputes when things go wrong.
Exactly. And then the third pillar is the backend infrastructure. This is the hitting plumbing. The servers, the databases, the logic rules that ensure when a passenger taps book, the request is instantly routed to the correct driver in their specific zip code.
Without the whole system just crashing.
Right.
And because that massive infrastructure is already built, the source claims you can literally launch your own branded carpooling platform in 7 days. Now, here's where I have to push back hard.
I don't blame you.
7 days? Come on. I
Yep.
mean, getting a basic flashlight app approved by the Apple App Store can take longer than a week, let alone vetting the driver's licenses of total strangers. What does launch actually mean in this context? Because it sounds a bit like a marketing exaggeration to me.
You are absolutely right to be skeptical of that timeline. We really have to separate a technical launch from a business launch.
Oh,
From a purely technical standpoint, yes, a developer can deploy this code to a server, apply your brand colors, and submit it to the app stores in 7 days. The software is ready.
but the software isn't the business.
Exactly. As you pointed out, the real friction isn't the code. The real friction is what we call the cold start problem in network economics.
Meaning, nobody wants to use an app that has no users.
Precisely. If I download your brand new rideshare app and search for a ride to the airport and there are 0 drivers available, I am deleting your app and never coming back.
Right, you're done.
So the software might be ready in a week, but building the critical mass of early adopters on both sides, getting enough drivers to make the app useful for riders, and enough riders to make it profitable for drivers, that takes immense time, marketing, and capital.
And that ties directly into the specific use cases the source mentions.
Mm.
Because you wouldn't just, launch a global app on day one. You'd use this script to solve a highly localized problem to get over that cold start hurdle.
Yes, start small.
The text suggests using it for daily commuting to industrial parks, airport transfers, or even event transportation. Like, you could literally buy this script, brand it for a massive music festival, and create an exclusive carpooling network just for people traveling to that one 3-day event.
Which is a brilliant strategy. You shrink the market to a size you can actually conquer.
Right.
But regardless of whether you're targeting a niche music festival or a daily city commute, there is a fundamental barrier you have to cross before anyone steps foot in a vehicle.
Trust.
You have to manufacture trust between total strangers.
Let's transition into that, because a beautiful house doesn't mean much if the people inside feel like they're in danger. The user experience has to be totally flawless. So how does a piece of off-the-shelf software actually orchestrate human trust?
The guide details a meticulous, step-by-step user flow that's designed entirely around psychological safety. Let's look at the driver flow first.
Okay.
A driver cannot simply type in a fake name and start offering rides. The verification process is intense. The platform verifies phone numbers and emails, sure, but more importantly, it requires the upload of government-issued IDs, valid driving licenses, and official vehicle registration documents.
So there's a definitive paper trail before a single seat is offered.
Yeah.
You aren't just an anonymous avatar.
Right. Then the driver creates a highly specific trip profile. They set the origin, destination, and price. But they also configure really granular preferences.
Like what?
Like, do they allow smoking? Are pets welcome? What is the maximum luggage size? This manages expectations before the passenger even clicks on the profile.
Oh, that's smart. That removes friction at the point of pickup, which saves everyone the massive headache of passengers showing up with a surfboard for a ride in a 2-seater convertible.
Exactly. And on the other side, the passenger flow is just as curated. Passengers use filters to sort rides by price, departure time, and critically, driver ratings.
They can request a seat or use an instant booking feature, right?
Yep.
But here's another point I want to challenge from the source. The text heavily emphasizes their payment processing, specifically something called an escrow model.
Right, the escrow system.
Basically, the platform takes the passenger's money up front and holds it securely in a digital vault until the trip is completed. And honestly, an escrow system feels incredibly heavy-handed for catching a $20 carpool ride. It sounds like we're buying real estate, not splitting gas money.
I get that. The term escrow does sound very formal, but what's fascinating here is that holding those funds in the middle is arguably the single most important trust builder in a peer-to-peer economy.
How so?
Think about the anxiety of dealing with a stranger. If a driver demands cash the moment you get in the car, the passenger is terrified the driver might just kick them out halfway there.
True.
But if the passenger promises to pay at the end of the trip, the driver is constantly worrying the passenger will just open the door at a red light and sprint away.
Ah, the classic dine and dash, just at 30 miles an hour.
Exactly. The escrow model completely neutralizes that mutual anxiety. The passenger pays the platform at the moment of booking. The driver is instantly notified, hey, the money is secured. You will be paid.
But they don't get the money yet.
No. The platform does not release those funds to the driver's bank account until both parties confirm they have safely arrived at the destination. It mathematically forces both humans to act in good faith.
Wow. It takes the awkward, tense conversation about money completely out of the physical car. You just ride.
And that financial safety is layered with physical safety tools, too.
Like the masked calling.
Right, meaning the driver and passenger can call each other to coordinate without ever seeing each other's real phone numbers. During the trip, there is live GPS tracking and emergency SOS buttons built straight into the interface.
So we've established a highly secure system that neutralizes stranger danger. But once you actually have users trusting the platform, the real challenge for the entrepreneur begins, which is survival.
Keeping the lights on.
Exactly. How do you keep the servers running and actually turn a profit? Let's talk about the engine of profit, because the source outlines some fascinating monetization strategies that go way beyond just taking a cut of the fare.
The standard commission-based model is where most platforms start, obviously taking a fixed percentage of every transaction. They also utilize surge or dynamic pricing, which algorithms use to automatically raise prices during periods of high demand.
Right, like when a massive stadium concert lets out
Mm-hmm.
and 10,000 people open your app at the exact same second. And it's not just about greed. It's about incentivizing drivers to get off their couches and into the traffic jam.
Exactly, supply and demand.
But the alternative models, the text list, are what really caught my eye, specifically the subscription model.
Yes. Charging a flat monthly fee for premium features, passengers might pay a subscription for zero service fees, while drivers might pay to have their ride listings prioritized at the top of the search results.
And think about the psychological shift that creates. This was a massive aha moment for me. If a driver pays a flat $20 monthly subscription to your platform, instead of giving up 15% of every single ride, their mindset completely changes.
In what way?
Well, they aren't just a gig worker anymore. They feel like a business partner. They are now highly incentivized to drive more on your platform to make their initial $20 investment worthwhile. It guarantees loyalty.
That is a brilliant observation. You shift them from feeling taxed on every transaction to feeling like they own a piece of the infrastructure.
Exactly.
The source also mentions advertising partnerships, corporate accounts where companies can be billed directly for employee commuting, and in-app add-ons where you literally charge the passenger a small fee for the privilege of bringing a pet or booking instantly.
So what does this all mean for the business owner? It means you shouldn't just pick one lane.
Right.
To survive the brutal early days of a startup, you need a hybrid model. You mix standard commissions with premium driver subscriptions and sprinkle in some corporate contracts to guarantee cash flow.
But here's the catch. To run a hybrid, monetized, real-time tracked, escrow-funded platform, you need serious technological horsepower.
Which brings us to what is actually under the hood.
Yes, the tech stack and the price tags.
We know what it does, but how does a $2,000 clone script handle a stadium's worth of traffic without melting down?
I will admit I can geek out a bit too much over a beautiful tech stack, but the architecture Enatega outlines here is truly enterprise-grade. Let's translate some of this jargon, starting with the front end.
Okay.
This is often referred to as UI and UX, user interface and user experience. It is quite literally how the app looks, feels, and responds when you tap the screen.
And the source specifically highlights a framework called Flutter for this.
Flutter is a game changer. Historically, if you wanted an app, you had to hire one expensive team to write code specifically for Apple's iOS, and a completely different team to write different code for Android.
Which doubles your costs.
Exactly. Flutter allows developers to write the code once and deploy it to both Apple and Android simultaneously. It cuts development time in half.
So that's the beautiful exterior. What about the back end?
Yeah.
The brains handling the logic.
The backend is powered by technologies like Node.js. If you have 10,000 people leaving that concert, all furiously tapping their screens to request a ride, a traditional server might try to process those requests one by one, get overwhelmed, and crash.
Right.
Node.js acts as an incredibly fast asynchronous traffic cop. It can handle thousands of simultaneous connections without breaking a sweat, ensuring the app logic keeps flowing.
But all those user profiles, car details, and payment histories have to be stored somewhere. Let's talk about the databases, because the text lists a few different types, and it confused me at first. Why do you need both PostgreSQL and Firebase?
That is a really crucial distinction. Think of PostgreSQL as a massive, impenetrable bank vault.
Okay.
It is a relational database. It is where you store things that must be perfectly structured and cannot ever be lost, like user passwords, financial ledgers, and official ride histories.
Things you don't mess around with.
Exactly. But you also have Firebase, which acts more like a fast-flowing river. Firebase handles real-time data. When you are watching that little car icon smoothly glide along the map on your screen, updating 10 times a second, that is Firebase at work.
What?
You wouldn't put rapidly changing GPS coordinates in the bank vault, and you wouldn't trust the fast-flowing river with your financial ledgers. You need both to make the app feel alive but stay secure.
That makes total sense. And to move the actual money around, the text mentions APIs like Stripe and PayPal. And for those listening, an API is basically a digital translator that allows your app to securely talk to another company's software. But plugging into Stripe isn't just about convenience, is it?
Not at all. Integrating a payment gateway API like Stripe is primarily about risk management. As a business owner, the absolute last thing you want is to be legally responsible for storing the credit card numbers of 50,000 users on your own servers.
That sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Exactly. By using Stripe's API, the sensitive data bypasses your servers entirely. You are legally offloading massive compliance liabilities to a company that spends billions on security.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Hearing you explain the mechanics of Node.js traffic cops, dual database structures, and enterprise API integrations, it sounds wildly expensive.
It is.
And according to the guide's cost breakdown, if you were to build this from scratch, it really is, hiring developers to build this custom across iOS and Android will run you anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000 or more.
And that $80,000 price tag is the massive impenetrable fortress wall we talked about at the very beginning. It keeps everyday entrepreneurs locked out of the tech industry.
But the CloneScript approach changes the math entirely. You get that exact same enterprise-grade technology, the Node.js, the Firebase, the Stripe integration, for a price ranging from just $2,000 to $8,000.
It is a profound disruption. However, we must be transparent about the hidden realities of software.
Always a catch.
$8,000 buys you the engine. If you want a custom UI and UX design so your app doesn't look like a generic template, that is an additional $1,000 to $5,000.
Right.
But the most critical hidden cost is maintenance. The guide states you must budget 15 to 20% of your initial cost every single year just to keep the app alive.
Because technology degrades. Apple updates their iPhone operating system, and suddenly your GPS tracking stops working unless you pay a developer to patch the code.
Precisely. You have to pay for server hosting on AWS, routine bug fixes, and third-party API fees. A software launch is not a finish line. It is the starting line of a marathon.
Still, even with maintenance, the final verdict presented in the text is incredibly compelling. The clone approach offers a drastically faster time to market. It saves tens of thousands of dollars in upfront capital. It utilizes a proven, reliable architecture.
And ultimately, it dramatically lowers the risk.
Yes. You aren't gambling your life savings on an untested prototype. You are buying a system that is already validated, allowing you to focus your energy on solving that cold start problem and acquiring real users.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it represents a massive paradigm shift in how we value innovation.
How so?
For the last 2 decades, the highest value in the economy was placed on the people who could build the complex technology. The software engineer was king.
Right.
But as these clone scripts become more sophisticated, the raw code itself is becoming commoditized. The economic shift is moving away from who can build the software to who can apply the software best to a real-world problem. The value is migrating from the code to the community.
That is such a powerful insight. And it leaves me with this lingering question for you, the listener, to mull over as we wrap up today's deep dive. If the entire highly complex infrastructure of a global ride-sharing giant can be perfectly cloned, packaged, and bought off a digital shelf for the price of a used car, what happens to the value of unique software over the next 10 years?
That's the real question.
Right. If the barrier to entry isn't the technology anymore, are we entering a new era where the underlying code barely matters? Where the only thing that separates a billion-dollar tech startup from a total failure is simply brilliant local marketing, creative monetization, and superior customer service? Because if anyone can afford to buy the fortress, maybe it is all about how you welcome people inside.
It raises a vital question about where the true competitive advantage of a business will lie in the very near future. It is a fascinating evolution to watch.
Something to think about next time you catch a ride. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.